If you love history, architecture, and walking through the past, these 10 US cities should be at the top of your travel list. Whether it's the birthplace of a revolution, the charm of cobblestone streets, or the remains of Spanish fort, these destinations offer a glimpse into America's rich and diverse history. From the battlefields of the Revolutionary War to the jazz clubs that shaped modern music, these cities are living museums, each telling their own story. So if you're planning a trip and want to step back in time, stick around because you won't want to miss these. At number 10, we've got Detroit, Michigan. It's known as the birthplace of the American automobile industry, but it has so much more history beyond that. Detroit was once one of the wealthiest cities in the world, thanks to Henry Ford and the rise of the auto industry. That wealth led to some of the most incredible early 20th century architecture in the entire United States. The historic Boston Edison and Indian Village neighborhoods showcase grand mansions from the early 1900s that were once home to industrial giants like Henry Ford, Charles T. Fisher, and Joe Louis. Many of these homes are now being restored, bringing new life to the city's historical fabric. Beyond the auto industry, Detroit played a crucial role in the civil rights movement and music history. The Motown Museum, housed in the famous Hitsville, USA building, tells the story of how Berry Gordy created the Motown sound, launching legends like Stevie Wonder, The Temptations, and Diana Ross. Meanwhile, the Guardian Building, one of the best preserved Art Deco skyscrapers in the country, is a reminder of Detroit's roaring 1920s prosperity. If you love history and architecture, there's no better place to see the rise, fall, and rebirth of an American city than Detroit. And real quick, if you're considering buying, selling, or investing in Detroit, or anywhere in Michigan for that matter, I'm a local realtor specializing in historic and luxury properties. So hit me up. I'd love to help you find the perfect property with both character and history. At number 9, we've got San Francisco, California. San Francisco is a city built on reinvention. What started as a sleepy Spanish settlement in the late 1700s became the heart of the California gold rush of 1849, attracting thousands of fortune seekers and transforming it into one of the fastest growing cities in the entire world. The rapid growth led to the creation of iconic Victorian homes, known as the Painted Ladies, which line the city's hills and remain some of the most photographed homes in the country. History is embedded in San Francisco's streets, from the legendary Chinatown, the oldest and largest in North America, to Alcatraz Island, infamous former prison that once held Al Capone. The city also played a massive role in the labor and LGBTQ+ rights movement, making it not only historically rich, but socially significant as well. And let's not forget the devastating 1906 earthquake, which destroyed nearly 80% of the city. Yet despite this tragedy, San Francisco rebuilt itself, keeping its historic charm alive while evolving into a modern metropolis. Whether you're riding the historic cable cars or exploring the preserved buildings of the Mission District, San Francisco offers layers of history that continue to shape the city today. It's a must visit for those who love a blend of old world charm and modern innovation. Next up, at number 8, we've got St. Augustine, Florida. If you love Spanish colonial history, St. Augustine is the place to be. Founded in 1565, it's the oldest continuously inhabited European settlement in the US, decades before Jamestown or Plymouth Rock. Walking through its historic district feels like stepping into a time capsule, with cobblestone streets, centuries-old churches, and Spanish-style architecture everywhere you look. The city's most famous landmark is Castillo de San Marcos, a massive stone fortress built in the late 1600s to protect against pirates and British invasions. Unlike wooden forts that burned down, this one was constructed with cocaina, a rare limestone made of crushed shells that absorbed cannon fire instead of crumbling. The fort still stands today, making it one of the most well-preserved Spanish colonial structures in the country. Beyond its military history, St. Augustine is also home to Flagler College, originally built as a luxury hotel in the late 1800s. Developed by railroad tycoon Henry Flagler, the building features breathtaking Spanish Renaissance architecture and stained glass windows by Louis Comfort Tiffany. Whether you're visiting for the architecture, ghost tours, or a deep dive into America's colonial past, St. Augustine is an essential stop for history lovers. Next up, at number 7, we've got Washington, D.C. It's no surprise that the nation's capital is packed with history. Every corner of Washington, D.C. tells a story. Whether it's about the founding of the United States, the Civil War, or the Civil Rights Movement, this city is home to some of the most iconic landmarks in the country, including the White House, the U.S. Capitol, and the Lincoln Memorial. Walking through the National Mall feels like stepping into a living history book, with each monument representing a pivotal movement in American history. Beyond the big-name landmarks, D.C. has a rich colonial past that often gets overlooked. Georgetown, one of the oldest neighborhoods in the city, features cobblestone streets and federal-style townhouses dating back to the 1700s. The Ford's Theater, where President Abraham Lincoln was assassinated, is another must-visit, giving visitors a chilling yet powerful glimpse into one of the nation's darkest days. If you want to go even further back, you can visit Dumbarton Oaks, a preserved mansion from the 1800s that showcases early American aristocratic life. Another underrated part of Washington's history is its role in African American culture. The city was one of the first major urban centers for freed African Americans following the Civil War, and areas like U Street became hotbeds of Black intellectualism, activism, and jazz. Today, you can explore the National Museum of African American History and Culture, which provides an eye-opening look at the struggles and triumphs of Black Americans throughout history. Whether you're here for politics, museums, or architecture, Washington, D.C. is a history lover's paradise. Here we are at number 6. We've got San Antonio, Texas. San Antonio is a city that beautifully blends Spanish, Mexican, and American history into one. Founded as a Spanish mission settlement in 1718, it is home to some of the oldest and most significant historical sites in the United States. The most famous, of course, is the Alamo, the site of the legendary 1836 battle where a small group of Texans, including Davy Crockett and Jim Bowie, fought to the death against the Mexican army. This event became a symbol of Texan independence, and today, the Alamo remains one of the most visited historic landmarks in the country. But beyond the Alamo, San Antonio is filled with Spanish colonial history. The San Antonio Missions, an UNESCO World Heritage Site, include 5 18th century mission churches that played a crucial role in spreading Christianity and European influence across Texas. One of the most striking is Mission San Jose, often called the Queen of the Missions, for its stunning Baroque architecture. These missions provide an incredible look into how Spanish settlers shaped the region, long before Texas became part of the United States. San Antonio also played a key role in the cattle and railroad industries during the late 19th and early 20th centuries. The historic Market Square, one of the largest Mexican markets outside of Mexico, reflects the city's vibrant cultural heritage. Meanwhile, the San Antonio Riverwalk, lined with historic buildings, bridges, and stone pathways, showcases the city's ability to preserve its past while still evolving into a modern urban center. If you love history with a mix of culture and great food, San Antonio is a must visit. All right, we're halfway through. Number 5, we've got Savannah, Georgia. Few cities in America have presented their historic charm quite like Savannah, Georgia. Founded in 1733 as the first capital of the colony of Georgia, the city was designed with a unique grid system that still defines its layout today. Savannah's 22 public squares, lined with ancient oak trees draped in Spanish moss, create one of the most beautiful and walkable historic districts in the country. Each square has its own story. Some are home to stunning antebellum mansions, while others are memorials to key figures in American history, like Chippewa Square, where Forrest Gump famously sat on a bench telling his life story. Savannah played a crucial role in both the Revolutionary War and the Civil War. The Siege of Savannah in 1779 was one of the bloodiest battles of the American Revolution. And during the Civil War, General Sherman's infamous March to the Sea ended in Savannah, though the city was spared from destruction. Instead of burning it down, Sherman offered the city as a Christmas gift to President Lincoln, and much of its historic architecture remained intact. Today, that preservation allows visitors to step back in time while walking along River Street, a cobblestone promenade lined with 19th century cotton warehouses. Beyond the military history, Savannah is also one of the most haunted cities in America. Stories of ghosts and spirits are everywhere, from the Pirate's House, one of the oldest buildings in Georgia, to Bonaventure Cemetery, which became famous after its eerie beauty was featured in Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil. Whether you're here for history, architecture, or ghost stories, Savannah offers an unforgettable glimpse into the past. At number 4, we've got New Orleans, Louisiana. New Orleans is a city like no other, with a history as rich and diverse as its culture. Established in 1718 by French settlers, the city became a crucial port for trade and a melting pot of French, Spanish, African, and Caribbean influences. The heart of this history lies in the French Quarter, where centuries-old buildings with wrought iron balconies line the street, and jazz music pours out of historic bars like Preservation Hall. New Orleans is often called the birthplace of jazz, and its musical heritage is as deeply rooted in its history as its architecture. But New Orleans isn't just about music and nightlife. It has a complex history marked by colonial power struggles, slavery, and resilience. The Battle of New Orleans in 1815, where General Andrew Jackson's forces defeated the British, solidified the city's role in shaping early America. The city also became a hub for African American culture, with the Trem neighborhood being one of the first Black communities in the US, and a birthplace of jazz, Mardi Gras Indian traditions, and civil rights activism. Of course, no discussion of New Orleans is complete without mentioning its deep connection to voodoo and folklore. The city was home to the legendary Marie Laveau, a voodoo priestess whose influence is still felt today. Walking through St. Louis Cemetery No. 1, where she is said to be buried, gives visitors a sense of the city's mysterious and spiritual history. Whether you're exploring historic plantations, experiencing New Orleans cuisine, or soaking in the jazz culture, New Orleans is a city where history is alive on every corner. We're getting close. At number 3, we've got Charleston, South Carolina. Charleston is one of the best preserved historic cities in the United States, with roots stretching back to 1670. As one of the first major port cities in the American South, Charleston became a key player in colonial trade, the Revolutionary War, and the Civil War. The city's wealth during the 18th and 19th centuries was built on rice and cotton plantation, which shaped not only its economy, but also its deeply complex social history. Today, visitors can explore plantation homes like Middleton Place and Magnolia Plantation, both of which give insight into Charleston's past, including the lives of the enslaved people who built the city's wealth. One of Charleston's most iconic features is its well-preserved architecture. Rainbow Row, a stunning series of 18th century Georgian townhouses painted in pastel colors, is one of the most photographed spots in the city. The Battery, a defensive seawall that protected Charleston from naval attacks, offers a stunning walk along the waterfront, where visitors can see grand mansions that date back to before the Civil War. Charleston is also home to Fort Sumter, the site where the first shots of the Civil War were fired in 1861. A short ferry ride takes you to the historic fort, which still bears the scars of the brutal conflict that followed. Beyond its historical significance, Charleston is known for its rich Gula culture, which was shaped by African traditions brought over by enslaved people from West Africa. The Old Slave Mart Museum provides a sobering but important look at the Charleston's role in the transatlantic slave trade, while the Gula Geechee Cultural Heritage Corridor helps preserve the language, music, and traditions of the Gula people. Charleston's combination of preserved history, stunning architecture, and cultural depth make it a must-visit city for history lovers. And here we are at number 2, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Philadelphia is the birthplace of American democracy, and there's no better place to experience the founding of the United States than here. Established in 1682 by William Penn, the city became a major hub for colonial politics and trade. By the mid-1700s, Philadelphia was the largest and most influential city in the American colonies, attracting key figures like Benjamin Franklin, Thomas and Jefferson, and George Washington. The most famous site in the city is Independence Hall, where both the Declaration of Independence and the US Constitution were debated and signed. Right across from it sits the Liberty Bell, one of America's greatest symbols of freedom, cracked but still standing strong as a reminder of the country's fight for independence. Beyond the Revolutionary War era, Philadelphia has an incredibly diverse historical landscape. Alfreth's Alley, dating back to 1702, is the oldest continuously inhabited residential street in America, showcasing preserved colonial homes where merchants and tradesmen once lived. Another major site is Betsy Ross's house, where legend has it the first American flag was sewn. But Philly's historical importance isn't just about the founding fathers. This city played a massive role in the Underground Railroad. The Mother Bethlehem Church, founded in 1794, is the oldest African Methodist church in the nation and was a crucial stop for escaped enslaved people seeking freedom. Philadelphia's history extends far beyond politics. It's also a city of innovation and culture. Benjamin Franklin's contributions to science, education, and civic planning can still be seen today at sites like the Franklin Institute and the American Philosophical Society. The city also has deep ties to industry, with Eastern State Penitentiary serving as a model for modern prison reform, and the Philadelphia Navy Yard playing a key role in both world wars. Even modern pop culture has left its mark. No visit is complete without running up the rocky steps at the Philadelphia Museum of Art, a nod to the city's resilience and underdog spirit. Whether you're exploring Revolutionary War sites, civil rights landmarks, or its vibrant food scene, Philadelphia is a city that truly tells the American story from multiple angles. And finally, at number 1, Boston, Massachusetts. Few cities in America are as historically significant as Boston. This is where the American Revolution took root, with events like the Boston Tea Party and the Battle of Bunker Hill. If you want to walk the same streets that shaped America's independence, Boston is a must-visit. The Freedom Trail, a 2.5-mile walking route, takes visitors through 16 historical sites, including Paul Revere's house, the Old North Church, and Faneuil Hall, where the phrase "no taxation without representation" first ignited revolutionary passions. Every street corner in Boston feels like a page from a history book, making it one of the best preserved historic cities in the US. Beyond the Revolution, Boston is also known for its world-class universities, literary history, and stunning colonial architecture. The blend of history and modern-day culture makes it an ideal place for anyone who wants to experience the heart of America's past while enjoying the energy of a vibrant city. Well, that's the list. These cities are an absolute must-visit if you love history, culture, and architecture. Now, before you go, I just want to throw this out there. If you're considering buying or selling a home, especially a historic or luxury home in Detroit, Pontiac, or anywhere else in Michigan, I'd love to help. Whether it's finding the perfect historic gem or marketing your home's unique story, I specialize in working with homes that have character and history. So if you're thinking about moving, investing, or just want to chat real estate, my contact info can be found in the description down below. Now, which of these cities have you been to? Or is there a historic city you think that I should have included? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you love learning about historic places and homes, be sure to like this video and subscribe. I've got a lot more coming your way. Thank you guys so much for watching. It truly helps. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!